we've seen the first, at least on our end that I've seen, the first AI specific marketing job posting. So this was brought to our attention on LinkedIn. It comes from a climate tech company called tomorrow.io. And the job that they are hiring for is, quote, AI marketing specialist. So we'll link to the full description in the show notes, but some highlights here. In addition to kind of your standard marketing specialist duties, things like creating and distributing content, managing social, et cetera, this role specifically calls out a couple of AI focused duties that an AI marketing specialist they want would have. Two of them include first, stay up to date on the latest developments in AI and related technology to catapult our go to market organization forward at scale. And also, envision the next iteration of Tomorrow.io's social media presence across channels using AI technologies such as natural language processing and machine learning. And so I first saw this because the CMO at Tomorrow.io, Dan Slagen, who I don't know personally, but have now since connected with on LinkedIn, he had a really amazing way to frame this job. And he said, quote, let's be honest, the future of marketing is knowing how to use AI to 1+1=3 everything. Knowing when to push AI further, knowing when to back off and be more human, but overall embracing the fact that thinking AI first before doing anything is the best way to 10x impact. And one other note here before I get your thoughts, Paul, is it's also interesting to note this is a relatively junior role. This isn't expecting decades of deep experience in AI. Instead, it's expecting you to have a couple years of marketing experience and then having kind of the hunger, the knowledge, and the drive to leverage AI technology to go make an outsized impact. So I want to get your take on, this job specifically, but also what does it mean for marketing work going forward?
We've talked about before that I think this is the year where we start seeing demand for AI savvy marketers skyrocket
Mm,
because marketing leaders, business leaders are under a lot of pressure from boards, from investors to figure out AI. And so when you turn to your organization, you're going to see maybe some technical people, maybe you have data scientists, maybe you have a CIO, maybe you had a digital transformation depending on the size of your company. You may have people who've been thinking about AI, machine learning applications in particular for years, who have not thought about its application at a business case level. Like their job isn't to sit around pondering the infusion of AI into marketing and sales and service and ops and product and HR and finance and legal. And so once you realize AI's potential and you turn to your organization and say, well, who can figure this out? Like, all right, let's start with marketing and sales and service. Like, let's find a few use cases in tech in there. Who can do it? It's not gonna be the data scientist. Like, it's not
mm,
gonna be the CIO. You need you need the practitioners. Like, you're going to need people who spend their day doing email or social media or advertising or communications or analytics or PR, whatever it is, to go find smarter technology. This is what we've been saying all along. AI is just smarter technology. The best people to find the tools are the people who do the job every day.
mm.
So, okay, Mike, you're spending 15 hours a week doing an email newsletter. Go find us a tool that can help us do that job in 3 hours better than we're doing it today. Okay, who's the best person to do that? It's going to be Mike. Like, it's going to be the person who can sit there and say, well, here's the 25 things I do every week related to our email, from list segmentation to subject line writing to figuring out what time to send the things to writing the emails to designing the emails to picking images to like all this stuff. It all goes in email. The best people to solve for how to do that smarter, faster are going to be the people who do it. So it makes sense that you're going to want a bunch of AI savvy people on your team who aren't afraid to go find and try new technologies
Mm.
and be able to analyze in a critical thinking way, which machines don't have. Critical thinking is a human trait right now. Um, Here's what my work looks like today. Here's my user story today. Here's what it could look like tomorrow, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months from now when we get this tech.
Mm.
So this is why we have been so bullish on that. It was only a matter of time until marketing leaders figured out the importance of AI, and then the next step would be demand for AI savvy talent. And it's also why we built the Piloting AI for Marketers series. Like we knew that there was going to come a time in the not so distant future where marketers in mass were going to have to figure this stuff out really fast.
Mm.
And so we're like, well, let's build a step-by-step learning journey. 8 hours of content, 17 on-demand courses they can learn in a day. So that's been our bet all along, was we were going to get to this moment. And I think, the post Dan shared and the summary, great. Like, I think that's the kind of thing you're going to see a lot more marketers do. And it's gonna we're gonna need the wider scale demand from the executive level, which we're starting to see happen. I mean, our AI for Writers Summit that we announced 2 weeks ago has like 1,200 people registered
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of big brands, and it's like 4 or 5 people from these enterprises, like
Yeah.
director level plus. And so we're seeing it now where the director level and above leaders are now jumping in to figure out specific areas. And
Hmm.
as soon as they do, they're going to understand all the other implications, and they're going to have to look for this kind of talent.
So it sounds like, based on that analysis, that we would expect to see at some point AI focused or AI specialized marketing jobs basically at every level of companies. I mean, the jobs that they already need people to do now will be the levels of jobs we see in quote AI marketing, correct?
Yeah. And you and I theorized this in the book. So, I mean, we had like, what are the jobs of the future, the roles in the future
Yep.
in marketing? We were sort of trying to guess and look out. Example right now would be, and this goes back to the responsible AI, like the number, whatever, 11 or 12 about upskilling and reskilling. So let's say it's universally accepted at the moment that to get value out of AI writing tools, generative AI writing tools, you need to be good at prompting them.
Hmm.
So you could look at your team and say, okay, well, we need people who are really good at prompting the AI what to write and how to do it and in what style and format and voice and tone and all these things. Well, who can do that? Are you going to go hire that person? No, because they don't exist. There's no one coming out of university that is trained as a writing prompt engineer or
Mm.
prompt associate or whatever you want to call it. So your immediate thing is like, well, we need somebody who's AI savvy, who wants to learn how to work with the machines. Let's look at our own team. Do we have somebody we can train to do this? Is it our existing writers? Are they willing to embrace AI tools, or are they refusing to use them? So I don't know. I think we're in this really interesting phase where the talent is going to evolve. As we've said, AI is not going to replace the writers, but writers who adopt AI will replace writers who don't, or
Hmm.
insert marketers, designers, whatever you want into that. And I think that's what's going to happen. And based on the pace of generative AI in particular, I think it's going to happen really fast. Like, not ChatGPT level fast, but what we're hearing from these enterprises, these businesses, is they're waking up to the need for people who can figure this stuff out, and they don't have time to wait. So I hope that it's a tipping point. I hope that we start seeing massive demand for AI savvy marketers, because that's been our belief all along, is we need next gen marketers, people who embrace this stuff and are willing to continually adapt what they do and how they do it.
That's a great point, and I think it's probably worth, before we dive into our rapid fire topics, I want to maybe just end this part of the discussion by, maybe we should set some expectations for the companies maybe listening and thinking about this, especially if you're new to the space. You're not getting people that are being formally trained in school to hire for this, correct? Yet, what should we as companies and employers be thinking about in terms of the expectations of where to find this talent, how we get it, how we train it, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, again, I haven't thought deeply about this. We haven't been hiring a lot at the Institute. Like, it's not like we're hiring a bunch of people, but even going back to my running my agency days, the kinds of questions we would ask. Like, I was always looking at strategic thinking, critical thinking. I
Mm.
would get into things like, well, what was the last, 2 business books or non fiction books you've read, like business book, marketing books. I would try and, or what blogs do you read? What podcasts do you listen? Like, I was asking questions to understand their curiosity and
Mm.
their commitment to ongoing learning. I think you could probably do something very simple like that in your hiring and recruiting process. Have you tried ChatGPT yet? What did you use it for? What did you think about it when you used it?
Hmm.
What other AI technology have you, tested? Have you played around with any of the image generation? And just find people who obviously are curious. If you're interviewing a writer, a marketer who hasn't tried ChatGPT yet, that's not a good sign. Like, that's uh, that would tell me that they're either not following very closely what is happening in the world and in the industry,
Mm.
and they have a very low level of curiosity.
Hmm.
Like I mean, I hadn't, again, until I'm saying it out loud, I haven't thought about, but if I was interviewing a marketer right now and I asked, have you tried ChatGPT? And they said no, I would probably end the interview. Like
Hmm.
it's, um, so I think you're trying to hire people who are curious, like who want to understand what's possible and are constantly learning and testing things. And and when you talk about AI, they have that like kind of high interest level to understand because as long as you have that, then you can teach the rest. Like you said, you're not going to go
Hmm.
find the people who've already taught this stuff. It's going to be all self taught at this point. But yeah, I would just find people who are curious, who are experimenting without getting paid to do it.
Yep. That's a great point. Yeah, the experimentation is so crucial. I just think of even our journey over the last formally 5 or so years at the Institute and well before that, where it's like even we can't predict where all this stuff was going. We had to
No
get our
idea.
hands dirty and actually use it and see what was possible. And honestly, you have to do that constantly because what I learned 3 months ago may no longer
We,
be applicable today.